Ambassador Hyunwoo Park sat at the massive round table in the Galactic Council chambers. The room was huge, with a ceiling that reached high above them. Strange lights from different worlds made everything glow in colors that hurt human eyes. He had been sitting here for 3 months now, trying to make peace with the alien races that ruled most of the galaxy. The table was made of some kind of crystal that showed reflections of everyone sitting around it. There were 27 different alien species at this table. Some looked like giant lizards with scales that changed colors. Others looked like insects with too many arms and legs. A few looked almost human, but their skin was blue or purple or had strange marks on it. Captain Yoonji Kim stood behind Hyunwoo, wearing her military uniform. She never smiled during these meetings. Her hand always stayed close to her weapon, even though weapons were not supposed to be used in this place. She had fought in many wars before becoming a diplomat's guard. Her eyes moved around the room, watching every alien for signs of danger. 3 months ago, humanity had come to this place with hope. Earth's leaders thought they could join the Galactic Council as partners. They brought gifts of human technology and art. They offered to share their knowledge of medicine and engineering. They wanted to trade and learn from the older civilizations. But the aliens did not see humans as equals. Speaker Velthar was the leader of the council. He was a tall creature that looked like a giant lizard walking on 2 legs. His skin was dark green with red markings around his neck. When he spoke, his voice sounded like rocks grinding together. He sat in the biggest chair at the table, making sure everyone could see he was the most important one here. The humans must understand their place, Velthar said to the other council members. He did not look at Hyunwoo when he spoke. It was like humans were not even in the room. They are new to space travel. They need guidance from those who have ruled the stars for thousands of years. Trade Minister Kixalon clicked his mandibles together. He was one of the insect-like aliens, with 4 arms and eyes that moved in different directions. Their worlds have good resources, he said. Iron, gold, rare metals. Their planets could feed our growing population, but they must give up their weapons first. Hyunwoo kept his face calm, but inside he felt angry. For 3 months, he had listened to these aliens talk about humanity like they were children. Every day, the council made new demands. They wanted humans to give up their military ships. They wanted humans to move off their best planets so aliens could live there. They wanted humans to work in mines and factories to make things for the alien worlds. The human military must be disbanded, said General Mordux, a creature covered in thick armor plates. No species can join the council while keeping weapons that could threaten peace. Captain Unji shifted behind Hyunwoo. He could hear her breathing change. She was getting angry too. She had seen what human weapons could do. The aliens had no idea what they were really asking for. We agree to reduce our military, Hyunwoo said carefully. But humanity needs some ships to protect our trade routes and colonies. The aliens at the table made sounds that might have been laughter. Speaker Velthar's throat made a rumbling noise. Protect from what? There are no threats in council space. We provide all the protection needed. What if pirates attack our cargo ships? Hyunwoo asked. Then you call for help, Velthar said. The council will decide if your request is worth our time. More clicking and rumbling sounds came from around the table. Hyunwoo realized they were all laughing at him. His face stayed calm, but his hands made fists under the table where no one could see. This went on for hours, every day. The aliens would make demands. Hyunwoo would try to negotiate. The aliens would refuse to compromise. They acted like they were doing humans a favor by even talking to them. On this day, the 100th day of talks, things got worse. The humans will provide workers for the mining operations on Kepler 442. Trade Minister Kixalon announced. 2 million humans will relocate to work in the deep mines. 2 million? Hyunwoo said. That is almost the entire population of our colony on New Sol. They will be well fed, Kixalon replied. The council always takes care of useful species. Useful species. The words hit Hyun-woo like a punch to the stomach. That was what humans were to these aliens. Not partners, not friends, just useful animals. Speaker Velthar leaned forward in his chair. His red eyes looked at Hyun-woo like he was studying an interesting bug. Perhaps the humans do not understand how generous we are being. Other species were not given such opportunities when they joined the council. What happened to those other species? Captain Yoonji asked from behind Hyun-woo. Velthar's throat rumbled again. They learned their place. They became productive members of our civilization. Their worlds prosper under our guidance. Hyun-woo had done his research. He knew what had happened to those other species. Their home worlds were stripped of resources. Their people worked in factories and mines for alien masters. Their cultures were erased. Their languages were forgotten. They had not prospered. They had been enslaved. We need time to consider these proposals, Hyun-woo said. No more time, Velthar said, standing up from his chair. The council has been patient with humanity for too long. You will accept our terms today or face the consequences. The room became quiet. All the aliens stared at Hyun-woo and Eunji. Some of them were smiling in ways that showed their sharp teeth. What consequences? Hyun-woo asked. The galaxy is a dangerous place for species without protection, General Morduk said. Pirates attack undefended worlds. Sometimes entire colonies disappear. Very sad, but these things happen to those who refuse council guidance. It was a threat. They were threatening to attack human worlds if humanity did not surrender. Hyun-woo stood up slowly. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a small device. It looked like a simple recording pad, but it was much more than that. For 3 months, it had been recording everything that happened in this room, every word, every threat, every insult. Ambassador, Captain Yoonji said quietly, the transport is ready. Hyun-woo looked around the table at all the alien faces. Some looked curious. Others looked angry that he was still standing. Speaker Velthar looked like he wanted to crush Hyun-woo with his bare claws. Honored members of the Galactic Council, Hyun-woo said in a clear, calm voice. Humanity came here seeking partnership. We offered friendship, trade, and cooperation. We brought gifts and knowledge to share. Yes, yes, Velthar said impatiently. And we have offered you guidance and protection. Make your choice, human. Hyun-woo smiled for the first time in 3 months. It was not a happy smile. It was the kind of smile that Captain Yoonji wore before she went into battle. You offered slavery, Hyun-woo said. You asked us to give up our freedom, our worlds, our people. You want to make us into useful pets. The word pets made several aliens make angry noises. Speaker Velthar stepped forward, his claws extending from his fingers. Choose your words carefully, human, Velthar growled. I choose them very carefully, Hyun-woo replied. And my choice is this. Humanity withdraws from these negotiations. We reject your counsel. We reject your protection. We reject your guidance. He placed the recording device on the table and pushed it toward Speaker Velthar. You have 72 hours to reconsider your position, Hyun-woo said. After that, humanity will consider the Galactic Council to be a hostile organization. The room exploded in angry sounds. Aliens jumped to their feet, shouting in languages that hurt human ears. But Hyun-woo and Captain Yoonji were already walking toward the door. You cannot threaten the Council, Velthar roared behind them. Hyun-woo stopped at the door and looked back. That was not a threat, he said quietly. That was a courtesy warning. Then, they left, leaving the Galactic Council chamber in chaos behind them. 48 hours after Ambassador Hyun-woo Park walked out of the Galactic Council chambers, Speaker Velthar was laughing. He sat in his private office, surrounded by other council leaders. The room was decorated with trophies from conquered worlds. Skulls, weapons, and flags from dozens of defeated species lined the walls. The humans think they can threaten us, Velthar said, his throat making that grinding sound that passed for laughter among his people. primitive creatures who only learned to travel between stars a few decades ago. Trade Minister Kixlon clicked, his mandibles in agreement. My analysts say their entire military has maybe 300 ships. We have over 50,000 vessels in our fleet. Should we send a few squadrons to their homeworlds? General Mordux asked. A show of force might make them more reasonable. Not yet, Velthar replied. Let them sit in fear for a few more days. When they come crawling back, they will accept any terms we give them. But while the council leaders laughed and made plans, something else was happening throughout human space. On Earth, in a bunker buried deep under the Korean mountains, Admiral Bora Shin was not laughing. She stood in front of a massive screen that showed the positions of every human ship in the galaxy. The screen was covered with thousands of dots of light, far more than 300. Operation Silent Dawn is now active, she announced to the room full of officers. All hidden assets are to reveal themselves and await orders. Captain Woo Young Park, one of Admiral Shin's best commanders, stepped forward. Admiral, the Council still thinks we only have 300 ships. They have no idea about the Shadow Fleet. Admiral Shin nodded. For 20 years, humanity had been secretly building ships in hidden bases. While the Council watched human colonies openly construct small cargo vessels and light patrol craft, the real work was happening in asteroid fields and dead moons. The Shadow Fleet had over 2,000 ships, all built with the best human technology. What about our people in Council space? Asked Colonel In-Soo Han, the head of Special Operations. All evacuation protocols are in effect, Admiral Shin replied. Every human civilian will be off Council worlds within 60 hours. Meanwhile, on the planet New Busan, Dr. Tae-Min Lee was working in his laboratory. The Council thought he was a simple research scientist studying alien plant life. They did not know he was the head of Human Intelligence Division. For 5 years, he had been building a network of spies and informants throughout Council space. Dr. Lee looked at his computer screen, which showed a map of the galaxy with hundreds of blinking lights. Each light was a human agent or a friendly alien who was secretly working against the Council. Some were janitors in Council military bases. Others were technicians who maintained the communication networks between alien worlds. A few were even serving on Council ships as exchange students. Begin Phase 2, Dr. Lee said into his communication device. All assets proceed with intelligence gathering. Across the galaxy, humans who had been living quiet lives suddenly became very busy. On the trade world of Nexus Prime, a human engineer named Mi Young worked in the main computer center. For 3 years, she had been fixing alien computers and learning their systems. The Council thought she was just a helpful technician. They did not know she had been quietly installing hidden programs in their networks. It's time, Mi Young whispered to herself as she typed commands into her terminal. All over the station, computer systems began running new programs that would send copies of all Council communications to human intelligence. On the military base of Fortress Gamma, a human named Dong Huan swept floors and cleaned bathrooms. The alien soldiers ignored him completely. They thought humans were too primitive to understand military secrets. But Dong Huan understood everything. He had been recording guard schedules, weapon locations, and ship movements for months. He pressed a button on his cleaning cart, and a tiny drone the size of an insect flew out. It would place listening devices throughout the base before anyone noticed. In the Council's main communication center, a human woman named Ye Jin worked as a translator. She helped alien species communicate with each other using their different languages. But she also used her access to copy important messages and send them to human intelligence. Admiral, she said into a hidden transmitter, I have the Council's complete battle plans. They're planning to attack Earth in 1 week. But the humans were not just gathering information. They were also preparing to disappear. On the mining world of Kepler 442, the same world where the Council wanted to send 2 million human workers, the existing human colony was packing up. 10,000 humans lived there, working in the mines and factories. But they were not just workers. They were also engineers and technicians who kept the alien machinery running. Colony leader Park Sung-ho activated the evacuation plan. "All families to the transport ships," he announced. "Take only what you can carry. Everything else stays behind." The humans loaded onto cargo ships that had been secretly converted to carry passengers. As they left, they took with them all the knowledge about how the mines and factories worked. The alien overseers did not realize that humans had designed most of the equipment. Within hours of the humans leaving, the mines stopped working. The processing plants shut down. The power generators failed. The aliens were left with expensive machinery they did not know how to fix. This was happening on dozens of worlds. Human colonies that the Council thought were helpless were vanishing like smoke. But they were not running away in fear. They were retreating according to a plan that had been prepared for years. On Earth, President Ji-Hae-yoon sat in her office, watching reports come in from across the galaxy. She had been a military strategist before becoming president. She understood that sometimes the best way to win a war was to make the enemy defeat themselves. "Status report," she said to her advisors. "All civilian evacuations are ahead of schedule," reported General Ki-tae Lim. "The Shadow Fleet is in position. Intelligence assets are gathering data faster than we can process it." And the Council's response. "They still think this is a tantrum," replied Foreign Minister So Young-choi. "Speaker Velthar sent a message saying they will give us one more chance to come to our senses." President Yoon smiled. It was the same kind of smile that Ambassador Hyunwoo had worn when he walked out of the council chambers. "Then they still don't understand what they're dealing with," she said. "Activate the final phase." Across human space, people received the same message. The gloves are off. On the space station Alpha Centauri, human technicians began shutting down the jump gate that connected council space to human territory. The aliens had always assumed that the jump gates were built with their technology. They did not know that humans had improved and rebuilt most of them. On the trade world of New Singapore, human cargo handlers stopped loading alien ships. Warehouses full of goods that the council needed suddenly became empty as humans loaded everything onto their own vessels. In the asteroid belt near Earth, hidden bases opened their doors for the first time. Massive construction ships emerged, carrying equipment that could build new jump gates in days instead of years. But the most important part of the plan was happening in places the Council could not see. Throughout Council space, the infrastructure that kept their civilization running was quietly changing. Jump gates that had worked perfectly for years began to develop small problems. Communication networks started having delays. Computer systems began running slower. The aliens did not notice at first because the problems were small. A message took a few seconds longer to send. A jump gate needed an extra minute to charge. A computer took longer to process data, but these small problems were growing bigger. In his laboratory, Dr. Tae-min Lee watched the reports coming in from his agents. Every piece of human-built technology in council space was developing problems. It was not sabotage, exactly. The humans were simply removing their improvements and letting the alien technology work at its original, much slower speed. "How long until they realize what's happening?" asked his assistant, a young woman named Haya-won. "The council is too arrogant to notice right away," Dr. Lee replied. "They think their technology is perfect. They don't know that humans have been quietly fixing their mistakes for years." On the edge of the Sol system, Admiral Bo-Ra Shin stood on the bridge of her flagship, the Independence. Around her, the Shadow Fleet was assembling. 2,000 ships, all built in secret, all equipped with the best weapons and defenses humanity could create. "Admiral," reported Captain Wu Young, "long-range sensors show a council fleet approaching. 50 ships, moving toward Earth." "Let them come," Admiral Shin said calmly. "They're about to learn that humans are full of surprises." She opened a communication channel to all human forces throughout the galaxy. "This is Admiral Shin to all units," she said. "The Council chose to see us as weak. They chose to treat us as slaves. They chose to threaten our homeworld. Now they will learn the price of underestimating humanity." She paused, looking out at the stars that had once seemed so peaceful. "Operation Silent Dawn is complete. All human assets are now in position. We are no longer seeking peace with the Council. We are at war." Admiral Zorkes of the Galactic Council Navy was feeling confident as his fleet moved toward the Sol system. He commanded 50 of the Council's finest warships, each one massive and heavily armed. In his opinion, this was far more firepower than needed to deal with a primitive human colony. "Sir," reported his tactical officer, a thin alien with purple skin and 3 eyes, "we're receiving strange reports from across Council space." "What kind of reports?" Zorkes asked, not taking his attention away from the star map showing their route to Earth. "Communication delays, sir. Jump gate malfunctions. Some trading posts are reporting equipment failures." Zorkes made a dismissive gesture with his 4 arms. "Probably routine maintenance issues. The humans couldn't possibly affect our infrastructure. They don't have the knowledge or ability. But across the galaxy, the problems were getting worse." On the industrial world of Gamma Prime, factory supervisor Klethan was having the worst day of his career. 3 of his main production lines had stopped working within an hour of each other. The automated systems that controlled the factories were running at half speed, and no one could figure out why. "Have you tried restarting the main computers?" asked Chief Engineer Vostal, a creature that looked like a walking tree with too many branches. "We've restarted everything twice," Klethan replied, his tentacles waving in frustration. "The systems run normally for a few minutes, then slow down again." Neither of them knew that the factory's control systems had been quietly improved by human technicians over the past 2 years. The aliens thought their computers were naturally efficient. They did not realize that human-written programs had been making everything run faster and smoother. Now those programs were gone. On the communication hub of Central Station, Network Administrator Quildax was staring at his screens in confusion. Messages that usually took seconds to send across the galaxy were now taking minutes. The entire Council communication network was slowing down. "Is this some kind of virus?" asked his assistant. "I don't know," Quildax admitted. "Run a full diagnostic on all systems." The diagnostic found nothing wrong. The equipment was working exactly as it had been designed to work years ago. But for the past 5 years, human technicians had been quietly upgrading the software, making it run much faster than the original alien programming. The aliens had gotten used to the improved speed. Now that the improvements were gone, their own technology seemed broken. In the Galactic Council chambers, Speaker Velthar was receiving reports from across Council space. Every hour brought news of more technical problems, jump gates that needed repairs, factories running slowly, communication networks experiencing delays. Could this be connected to the human withdrawal? Asked Trade Minister Kixlon, his mandibles clicking nervously. "Impossible," Velthar replied firmly. "Humans are barely capable of space travel. They couldn't affect our systems even if they tried." But Chief Technology Advisor Rendal was not so sure. She was one of the few council members who had actually studied human capabilities instead of just dismissing them. "Sir," she said carefully, "I've been reviewing the technical reports. Many of these failing systems had human technicians working on them in recent years. Are you suggesting that humans sabotaged our equipment?" Velthar asked, his voice full of disbelief. "Not sabotaged," Rendal replied. "But what if they were helping? And now they've stopped helping." The idea that humans had been improving Council technology was so shocking that most of the Council members refused to consider it. They had always believed their civilization was far superior to anything humans could create. Meanwhile, hidden in the asteroid belt near the planet Kepler 186, Spy Master Do Hyun Jang was watching the Council's confusion with satisfaction. His small ship was invisible to alien sensors, protected by stealth technology that was years ahead of anything the Council possessed. "The Council fleet is still moving toward Earth," he reported to Admiral Shin. "Admiral Zorkess is commanding. 50 heavy cruisers." "Good." Admiral Shin's voice came back through the encrypted communication. "Let them come." "Is the misinformation campaign ready?" "Ready and active," Do-hyun confirmed. "We're feeding false intelligence to their scout networks. They think Earth's defenses consist of 12 orbital platforms and maybe 20 patrol ships. In Iomwindi reality, Earth's defenses were much stronger. Hidden weapon platforms orbited the planet, disguised as space debris or communication satellites. The Shadow Fleet was positioned throughout the Sol system, waiting for orders. Do-hyun switched to another communication channel and sent a coded message to sleeper agents throughout Council space. The message was simple. Begin Phase 3. On. The mining world of Asteroid Station 7, human engineer Kyung-soo had been working as a maintenance technician for 3 years. The alien overseers thought he was just another worker, useful for fixing broken equipment. They had no idea he was a trained saboteur. He walked calmly through the station's power plant, carrying his normal toolkit. To anyone watching, he was just doing routine maintenance. But with each tool he used, he was making small changes to the power distribution system. Nothing dramatic. Nothing that would cause explosions or kill anyone. Just tiny adjustments that would make the power grid unstable over time. Within 6 hours, Asteroid Station 7 would lose power for days. On the trade hub of Commerce Central, a human woman named Hae-young worked in the main computer center. For 2 years, she had been helping aliens with their technical problems. She was always polite, always helpful, always eager to fix whatever was broken. Today she was equally helpful as she installed a small piece of software into the station's main computer. The software would slowly corrupt the trading records, making it impossible to track cargo shipments or financial transactions. "Thank you, Hae-young," said her alien supervisor. "You're always so reliable." "Just doing my job," she replied with a smile. By tomorrow, Commerce Central would be in complete chaos. These small acts of sabotage were happening across dozens of worlds. Human agents who had spent years earning the trust of their alien colleagues were now using that trust to create confusion and fear. But the Council's biggest mistake was still believing that humans were primitive and harmless. Admiral Zorkess received an intelligence report as his fleet approached the outer edge of the Sol system. According to Council scouts, Earth had minimal defenses. A few orbital platforms, some patrol ships, maybe a small defense fleet hiding behind the moon. "This will be easier than I thought," he told his officers. "The humans probably don't even know we're coming." What he didn't know was that human agents had written that intelligence report. The Council scouts who provided the information were actually human spies feeding false data to the alien military. "Sir," reported his navigation officer, "we're approaching the heliopause. Should we deploy the fleet for attack formation?" "Not yet," Zorkess replied. "We don't want to appear too aggressive. After all, we're just here to negotiate with the humans." He used the word negotiate, the way a predator might use the word play when talking about hunting prey. In the council chambers, Speaker Velthar was growing more frustrated by the hour. Reports of technical failures were pouring in from across council space. Jump gates were shutting down for routine maintenance. Communication networks were experiencing temporary delays. Industrial plants were running at reduced efficiency. "How long until Admiral Zorkess reaches Earth?" he asked. 12 hours, sir," reported General Mordux. "Once the humans see our military strength, they'll surrender quickly. And then we take control of their worlds, strip their resources, and put their population to work in our mines and factories. The same as we've done with every other species that tried to resist the Council." But Speaker Velthar was beginning to have doubts. The timing of all these technical problems seemed suspicious. Could the humans really be more capable than the council had believed? Rendall, he called to his technology advisor. I want a complete review of all systems that have had human contact in the past 5 years. Chief Technology Advisor Rendall had already been working on exactly that report. What she had found was disturbing. Sir, she said, approaching the speaker's chair, I've identified over 300 major systems that were upgraded or repaired by human technicians. Communication networks, jump gates, industrial equipment, even some military systems. And every single one of them is now experiencing problems. It's as if the humans removed their improvements when they left. The chamber became quiet. If this was true, it meant that human technology was not primitive at all. It meant that humans had been quietly helping the council for years, making their civilization run more efficiently, and now they had stopped helping. That's impossible, Trade Minister Kixelon insisted. Our technology is thousands of years more advanced than anything humans could create. Is it? Rendall asked quietly. When was the last time you actually looked at human technology instead of just assuming it was inferior? Before anyone could answer, an alarm started ringing throughout the council chambers. Emergency lights began flashing red. What's happening? Velthar demanded. A technician ran into the chamber, his breathing heavy from panic. Sir, we've lost contact with Admiral Zorkess's fleet. Lost contact how? Admiral Zorkess stared at his navigation screen in confusion. According to his instruments, his fleet had reached the coordinates where Earth should be, but all he could see was empty space and a massive holographic projection floating in the void. The projection showed a human face. It was Ambassador Hyunwoo Park, the same human who had walked out of the council chambers 3 days ago. But now he was not wearing diplomat clothes. He was dressed in a military uniform with the rank of Admiral. Greetings, Admiral Zorkess, the hologram said in perfect galactic standard language. Welcome to Sol System. I am Admiral Hyunwoo Park of the Human Defense Force. Admiral, Zorkess said to himself. The human ambassador was a military officer? The hologram continued speaking. You have come here expecting to find a defenseless world populated by primitive creatures. You plan to destroy our defenses and force our surrender. You were counting on an easy victory. Zorkess felt a chill run through his body. How did the humans know his exact mission plans? You will not find Earth at these coordinates. The hologram said, Our planet has been moved to a secure location. What you will find instead is a lesson in humility. The projection flickered and changed to show a new message. The hunt begins. Then every alarm on every ship in Zorkess's fleet started ringing at once. Sir, shouted his tactical officer, multiple contacts appearing all around us, ships decloaking, off our port, starboard, and rear positions. How many ships? Zorkess demanded. I'm counting 200, no, 300. Sir, there are over 500 human vessels surrounding us. Zorkess looked at his screens in disbelief. The Council's intelligence had said humans only had about 300 ships total. How could there be 500 ships in one place? Sir, his communication officer reported, we're receiving a transmission from the human fleet. A new voice came over the communication system. It was calm, professional, and completely confident. This is Fleet Admiral Sujin Kang of the Human Space Navy. Admiral Zorkess, you are trespassing in human space with hostile intent. You have 30 seconds to surrender your fleet or face the consequences. Surrender? Zorkess roared. We have 50 heavy cruisers, the most powerful ships in the galaxy. 29 seconds, Admiral Sujin's voice replied. Zorkess looked at his tactical display. Yes, he had 50 ships, but they were surrounded by 500 human vessels. Even if the human ships were smaller and weaker, the numbers were not in his favor. Open fire on the nearest human ships, he ordered. His fleet launched missiles and energy beams at the human vessels. The weapons struck their targets perfectly. Zorkess smiled, expecting to see human ships exploding. Instead, the human ships just flickered and disappeared. "Sir!" his tactical officer screamed. "Those were holograms! The real human ships are everywhere!" The space around Zorkes's fleet suddenly filled with energy beams coming from directions where no ships had been visible. Human vessels were decloaking all around them, firing precisely targeted shots that disabled council weapons without destroying the ships. "How are they doing this?" Zorkes asked in panic. "Their stealth technology is unlike anything in our database," his science officer reported. "And their weapons. Sir, they're not trying to destroy us. They're systematically disabling our ability to fight back." Within 10 minutes, Zorkes's entire fleet was helpless. Their weapons were offline, their engines were damaged, their communication systems were jammed. But no one had been killed. Admiral Sujin's voice came over the communication system again. "Admiral Zorkes, your fleet is now under human control. Your crews will not be harmed if they cooperate. Consider this a demonstration of human military capability." "This is impossible," Zorkes whispered. "Humans are supposed to be primitive." "That was your first mistake," Admiral Sujin replied. "Your second mistake was threatening our homeworld. Your third mistake was believing your own propaganda about human inferiority." But the capture of Admiral Zorkes's fleet was only the beginning. Across the galaxy, human ships were appearing in places where no one expected them. They emerged from asteroid fields, from behind moons, from the empty space between star systems. The shadow fleet that Admiral Boraj Shin had been building for 20 years was finally revealing itself. On the military base of Fortress Gamma, alarms were screaming as human ships materialized in orbit. General Kotran, the base commander, watched in horror as his orbital defenses were systematically destroyed by weapons that fired from directions where his sensors showed nothing. "How many ships are attacking us?" he asked his tactical officer. I don't know, sir. Our sensors keep showing empty space, but the weapons fire is coming from everywhere." Captain Woo Young Park commanded the human attack on Fortress Gamma. His ship, the Defiant, was equipped with the latest human stealth technology. To alien sensors, it was completely invisible. "Target their communication array," he ordered his weapons officer. "We want to cut them off from the rest of the Council fleet." The Defiant's weapons fired precisely, destroying the base's ability to call for help without harming the thousands of alien civilians living on the planet below. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "we're receiving a surrender signal from the base." "Accept their surrender," Captain Woo Young replied. "Send a boarding party to secure their command center. Remember, we're not here to conquer. We're here to send a message." This same scene was playing out on dozens of worlds across Council space. Human ships appeared without warning, disabled military targets with surgical precision, and disappeared before reinforcements could arrive. But the humans were not just attacking military targets. They were also striking at the economic heart of the Council's civilization. The trade world of Commerce Central was the financial center of the galaxy. Trillions of credits worth of transactions passed through its computers every day. The entire Council economy depended on this one planet functioning smoothly. Human agent Hei Young, who had been working in the computer center for 2 years, activated the virus she had installed the day before. Within hours, the entire financial network crashed. Banking records disappeared. Trading contracts vanished. The stock markets of 100 worlds stopped functioning. But the virus did more than just destroy data. It also displayed a message on every computer screen in the financial district. The Galactic Council's economy depends on the goodwill of humanity. Consider this a reminder. On the industrial world of Gamma Prime, all the factories that had been slowing down suddenly stopped working completely. Without human technicians to maintain them, the automated systems finally collapsed under their own inefficiency. Millions of alien workers found themselves unable to do their jobs. The products that dozens of worlds depended on were no longer being manufactured. In the Galactic Council chambers, Speaker Velthar was receiving disaster reports faster than he could process them. Military bases attacked, trade networks destroyed, industrial production stopped, communication systems failing. How is this possible? He demanded. How can one primitive species cause so much damage? Chief Technology Advisor Rendall had spent the last 3 days studying human capabilities. What she had discovered was terrifying. Sir, she said, I don't think humans are primitive at all. I think they've been pretending to be primitive while studying us. Explain. Every system they've helped us with, they improved beyond our original specifications. Every human technician we employed learned more about our technology than we learned about theirs. Every trade agreement gave them access to our manufacturing processes. Velthar felt his blood turning cold. Are you saying they've been spying on us? I'm saying they've been learning everything about us while revealing nothing about themselves, and now they're using that knowledge against us. General Mordux slammed his fist on the table. Then we crush them. Send every ship we have to human. Space! With what? Rendall asked. Half our communication networks are down. Our supply lines are disrupted. Our financial systems are in chaos. How do we coordinate a galaxy-wide military campaign when we can't even send messages between star systems? Before anyone could answer, the main screen in the council chambers activated. Ambassador Hyun-Woo Park's face appeared, but now he was clearly identified as a human military commander. Honored members of the Galactic Council, he said with cold politeness. Humanity wishes to clarify our position. You attack our worlds, and then talk of peace? Velthar snarled. We have attacked no one, Hyun-Woo replied calmly. We have defended ourselves against military forces sent to threaten our homeworld. We have withdrawn our technical support from systems we were maintaining. We have removed our cooperation from an organization that treated us as slaves. You're destroying our civilization. No, Hyun-Woo said, and for the first time his voice showed emotion. We're showing you what your civilization really is without the help you took for granted. The screen changed to show a map of the galaxy. Red dots marked every world experiencing problems. There were hundreds of them. Every red dot represents a system that was functioning above normal efficiency due to human involvement, Hyun-Woo explained. We fixed your broken technology. We improved your computer programs. We maintained your networks. We solved problems you didn't even know you had. 1 week after the human withdrawal, the Galactic Council was in complete chaos. Speaker Velthar sat in an emergency session with only half the council members present. The other half could not travel to the meeting because their transportation networks had failed. The great chamber that had once echoed with arrogant laughter was now filled with angry voices and fearful whispers. Representatives from dozens of species were shouting at each other, blaming everyone except themselves for the disaster that had befallen their civilization. 3 core worlds have lost orbital defense, General Mordux reported, his voice shaking with rage and fear. Human ships appeared out of nowhere, disabled our weapons, and vanished before we could respond. The Kepler trade route is completely shut down, Trade Minister Kixelon added, his mandibles clicking nervously. Without human maintenance, the jump gates are failing one by one. How long until we can repair them ourselves? Velthar asked. The question was met with uncomfortable silence. Finally, Chief Technology Advisor Rendall spoke up. Sir, we don't actually know how to repair them. The original blueprints were lost centuries ago. We've been depending on human technicians to maintain the network for the past 5 years. Then, get different technicians. From where? Rendall asked. The humans trained most of our technical staff. The few alien engineers who understand the systems are scattered across a dozen worlds we can no longer communicate with. Velthar slammed his claws on the table. Are you telling me that our entire civilization depends on one primitive species? Not primitive, said a new voice from the chamber entrance. Everyone turned to see Ambassador Hyun-Woo Park walking into the room. But he was not alone. Behind him came Admiral Bo-Ra Shin, President Ji-Hai Yoon and Captain Yoon-ji Kim. They were flanked by human soldiers in advanced combat armor. "How did you get past our security?" Velthar demanded. "What security?" Admiral Shin replied calmly. "Your defense systems stopped working 3 days ago when our technicians stopped maintaining them." President Yoon stepped forward. She was a small woman compared to the massive aliens around the table, but her presence filled the room. "We have come to discuss terms." "Terms?" Velthar roared, rising from his chair. "You attack our worlds and then offer terms?" "Sit down," Captain Yoon-ji said quietly. Her hand rested on her weapon, and something in her voice made the giant alien obey without thinking. "Let's be clear about what has happened," President Yoon said, walking slowly around the table. "Humanity did not attack your worlds. We defended ourselves when you sent a war fleet to destroy Earth. We did not sabotage your systems. We simply stopped fixing them for free." She stopped in front of Velthar's chair. "You declared war on us because we refused to become your slaves. Now you're discovering what your superior civilization actually looks like without human help." Trade Minister Kixalon leaned forward. "What do you want from us?" "Justice," Admiral Shin replied. "Accountability." "Change." Ambassador Hyun-woo activated a portable holographic projector. The image showed the galaxy, with thousands of red dots marking failing systems. "For 20 years, humanity has been quietly supporting your civilization," he explained. "We fixed your broken technology. We improved your inefficient systems. We solved problems you couldn't solve yourselves. We did this in the spirit of cooperation and friendship." The image changed to show recordings from the peace negotiations. Velthar's own voice filled the chamber. "They will be well fed. The Council always takes care of useful species. This is how you repaid our friendship," Hyun-woo continued. "You plan to enslave our people, strip our worlds, and turn us into useful pets." Several council members looked uncomfortable. Some had not realized how badly humanity had been treated during the negotiations. "So what happens now?" asked General Mordux. President Yoon smiled, but it was not a friendly expression. "Now you face the consequences of your choices." She nodded to Admiral Shin, who activated her own communication device. "Admiral, execute Phase 4. Across the galaxy, human ships moved into position around the 3 most important Council Core worlds: the capital world of Nexus Prime, the industrial center of Gamma Prime, and the financial hub of Commerce Central. The orbital defense platforms around these worlds had been quietly disabled over the past week. Now, human ships surrounded them completely, but they did not attack. "You now have a choice," President Yoon told the terrified council members. "You can continue to pretend that you are the rightful rulers of the galaxy. You can keep treating other species as inferior beings who exist only to serve you. You can maintain your arrogant belief that might makes right." She paused, letting the words sink in. "Or you can accept that your time as galactic dictators is over." "What are you proposing?" asked Rendall, who seemed to be the only council member still thinking clearly. Admiral Shin stepped forward. "Complete reorganization of galactic government. The council as it exists now will be dissolved. A new system will be established based on equality and cooperation instead of domination and exploitation." "And if we refuse?" Velthar asked. "Then, your core worlds will be blockaded until you change your minds," President Yoon replied. "No ships in or out, no trade, no communications, no technical support. You can sit in the dark and think about your choices until you're ready to be reasonable." "You can't blockade entire star systems." "We already have," Captain Yoon-ji said, checking her tactical display. "All 3 of your core worlds are now under human control. Your orbital stations have surrendered. Your defense fleets have been disabled. Your populations are unharmed, but your governments are powerless." The council chamber erupted in angry voices. Some members demanded military action. Others called for negotiations. A few simply sat in stunned silence. But one voice. "Cut through the chaos! I surrender!" Everyone turned to look at General Mordux. The old military commander stood slowly, his heavy armor making metallic sounds. "I have spent my entire career serving the Council," he said. "I believed we were bringing order and civilization to the galaxy. But I have seen the reports from our attack on Earth. I have witnessed how easily the humans defeated our finest fleet." He looked directly at Velthar. "We are not the superior species we thought we were. We are the ones who need guidance." "You're talking about surrender to primitives," Velthar snarled. "No," Mordux replied. "I'm talking about acknowledging reality. These primitives have been holding our civilization together while we took credit for their work. They could have destroyed us completely, but instead, they're offering us a chance to change." More council members began to speak up. Some agreed with Mordux, others remained defiant, but the tide was turning. Rendall stood up from her chair. "I support General Mordux. The humans have proven their point. We cannot continue as we have." "As do I," said Representative Colvin of the Aquatic Alliance. "My people have suffered under council rule for centuries. Perhaps it's time for something better." One by one, more council members voiced their support for surrender and reform. Some did it because they genuinely believed it was right. Others did it because they realized they had no choice. Finally, only Speaker Velthar remained defiant. "I will never surrender to inferior species," he roared. "The Council has ruled this galaxy for 1,000 years. We will not be overthrown by upstart humans." President Yoon looked at him with something that might have been pity. "You still don't understand," she said quietly. "This isn't about humans ruling the galaxy. This is about no one ruling the galaxy." She activated another holographic display showing the charter for a new galactic government. "The Galactic Cooperation Initiative," she announced. "No single species in charge, no superior races, no inferior ones. Equal representation for all. Decisions made by consensus, not force." Admiral Shin added, "Humanity will have no more political power than any other species. We're not seeking to replace the Council. We're seeking to eliminate the entire concept of galactic domination." "What about our military?" asked General Mordux. "Joint Defense Forces," Captain Yoon-ji replied. "Ships and personnel from all species, working together to protect everyone instead of enforcing the will of a few." "And trade?" asked the representative from the Merchant Guild. "Free and fair," Trade Minister Hai Wan Choi answered. She had been quiet until now, but she was actually humanity's chief economic strategist. No more tribute systems, no more forced labor, no more resource extraction without compensation. The new system they were proposing was so different from the old council that many aliens could barely understand it. A government based on cooperation instead of domination, military forces that protected instead of conquered, economic systems that benefited everyone instead of just the ruling class. It sounded too good to be true. "How do we know you won't just become the new oppressors once you have power?" asked Representative Zilnath. President Yoon smiled, and this time it was genuine. "Because we're giving you the power to stop us if we try." She gestured to the charter. "Built-in checks and balances, rotating leadership, no permanent positions of absolute authority. And most importantly, any species can leave the Cooperation Initiative at any time." "You're offering us freedom," Rendall said in wonder. "We're offering you what we wanted for ourselves," Ambassador Hyunwoo replied. "Partnership, equality, respect.